What's up, everyone? Dan here, Crypto Capital Venture, December 3rd, 2019. I can't believe it's December. It's unbelievable. This video, I'm going to really talk about Bitcoin being on pace for the bull market that everybody wants. I think it is. You could disagree. That's fine. If you disagree, you can disagree in the comments. Curious of your opinion. But that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. And I'm really going to look at the cycles of Bitcoin to discuss this. I'm going to get started in a minute. If you're a replay viewer, feel free to hit the timestamp in the pinned comment below. And on your way to that pinned comment, hit the like button. I would very much like that. Just giving it a minute to make sure people are getting into the chat and that people can hear me. This is a live stream. But what I will say, I'm going to try my best to kind of keep it short. So I see Tech Lords. I see something. I see Tim G. What's up? What's up? I see everybody. Again, my YouTube is frozen. It says that I'm not live. What a surprise. Hit the like button if you're here. I appreciate you being here. Either way, I'm going to get started. I'm pretty sure you can all hear me. This happens all the time. So let's jump into the video. And let me just move some things on my screen so that we can get this started. All right. Now I see the chats going. What's up, everybody? So I want to start this video before I even jump into the technical analysis. I like this article. First off, this part of the Bitcoin cycle, this part of the Bitcoin transition of bear market to bull market, it's kind of grueling from like a social perspective, meaning social media is just boring. It's not as fun as it is when Bitcoin's moving, especially to the upside. And from my perspective, when I'm tweeting or I'm doing videos, I just don't post as much when there's not a lot of movement on Bitcoin. And I think that's just because I'm where I am. I'm not taking any action in buying Bitcoin right now. I'm waiting to see what it does. And I'm trying to take my time and do beneficial things instead of just watching Bitcoin do nothing, right? So I'm trying to build things on the side. And I encourage all of you, especially if you're involved in the crypto space, just build, make yourself useful, get out there, do things you're passionate about, get creative. Don't obsess over Bitcoin charts because right now, it's kind of boring. But I do like articles like this. This was CoinDesk. Bitcoin to see return of bull cross that marked onset of 2016, 2017 price rally. And when we're talking about things like Bitcoin and its cycles, we do look at historical data. We do look at 2016, 2017. And I want to just read this, a couple points here. Bitcoin's 50 and 100 week moving averages look set to produce a bullish crossover next week. Back in 2016, the same cross marked the start of a long-term bull market. So could this be a first little hint of the bull market to come in terms of this long-term cycles of Bitcoin? Prices could rise to key trendline resistance at 7,600 in the short term. A break higher would expose the recent high of 78.70. I would love that. I, for one, would love if we're testing these levels again and we're breaking these levels. The short-term bullish case would be invalidated if prices drop below 68.47, something we're watching on the downside. I will point out, I don't usually use the 100-week moving average. If you watch my channel, I'm using 200 moving averages and I'm using 50 moving averages, both on the weekly and on the daily charts. But to give you a picture of what they're talking about in this article, 50 moving average crossing the 100 moving average, here it is. The 50 moving average, I'll zoom in a little bit so that you can see. 50 moving average is this blue line you see, right? We've talked a lot about that recently because we're kind of testing it right now in these 2 weekly candles, right? We really, truly want to see support above these candles. It's iffy. It's not the end of, it's not the worst case scenario for Bitcoin to be trading below it, but it's just, we didn't want to see that, right? And we traded below it. But what we're talking about in this article that we just read is the 50 moving average making a move to cross the 100 moving average. So is Bitcoin going to make a move, right, towards 8,000 or so to bring this 50 moving average above this white line, the 100 moving average? It's taking historical data into account, the article is, in saying that, look, here's the move that we got the last time around for Bitcoin. 50 moving average, blue line, crossing the white line, the 100 moving average. Now, what's cool about that, if you look at the chart, this line right down the middle of the screen here, this white line you see, is actually the Bitcoin halving, right? Hold on, let me move I can't see my own screen. In 2016. So Bitcoin halving in 2016 is this white line. We had the 50 moving average cross on the weekly above the 100 moving average before that halving, right? And similarly, we're getting a potential 50 moving average cross above that 100 moving average. It's something to watch. It's definitely something to watch, especially if you're interested in watching on the short term. So now I want to go over to, I want to talk about Bitcoin in terms of cycles, especially regarding Fibonacci retracement. And before I look at Fibonacci retracement on the charts, before I talk about this with you, and I got to point out this awesome comment. Aren't you an LTC sellout? I'm not an LTC sellout. I still hold Litecoin, everybody. I'm going to still cover Litecoin. I'm going to say this. I'm going to bring this up because I've getting a lot of comments on Twitter too. Ernie Segura, first off, shout out to my father-in-law. Ernie Segura, I see you. I know you're with wifey right now. Thanks for watching, Pa. Ryan says, aren't you an LTC sellout? I'm just going to say it real quick. I'm not an LTC sellout. I left Litecoin Foundation, did a video on it, not a big deal. And the other thing is, I've talked even leading into Litecoin halving and Bitcoin halving. I said Litecoin halving is going to have its pump. I'm covering it a lot into Litecoin halving. But after that, LTC, BTC pair, Litecoin, in my opinion, is going to be way weaker than it was leading into its own Litecoin halving. And as Bitcoin starts leading into its halving, Bitcoin's going to dominate. And that's all altcoins, right? So I'm not covering Litecoin as much just because I don't have as much interest in Litecoin price as I do in Bitcoin and Bitcoin's own halving coming up. I'm just going to say that. Ryan says that I never said, you never said why you would step away. You never told us why you leave the foundation. You let people down with no answers. I did a video, Ryan, like a month or so ago when it happened. Go watch it. And the other thing is, it doesn't matter. I'm a person. We're living in a decentralized environment, right? I was contributing to content for Litecoin Foundation. I'm not anymore. Like, don't look to influencers and YouTubers and Twitter people to give you confidence about what you're doing in these markets. This is a decentralized market. I'm deciding to do something else with my time. Part of it was Litecoin. Litecoin Foundation is centralized. I just don't want to be a part of a centralized community of people that are doing good work. They're doing cool things, right? I think groups like that are important, but I don't have an interest in committing my time to a centralized type of group that I'm a part of, right? I don't do well with things like that. It's just not my style. I'm kind of introverted in the aspect of how I contribute my time and content. And that's not just with cryptocurrency, that's just in general. And I'm getting sidetracked, so I'm sorry if you're here for Bitcoin technical analysis, but that's some of my thoughts on Litecoin. But dude, I'm still long on Litecoin. I still hold Litecoin. I'll probably buy more Litecoin when the time is right for me. And, I'll try and cover Litecoin more because I know a lot of you like Litecoin. And that's awesome. So back to Bitcoin charts, Fibonacci retracement. I'm going to talk about it. And before I do, I want to just real quick to kind of reel things in terms of Fibonacci. Where does Fibonacci come from? So Fibonacci levels are derived from a number series that Italian mathematician Leonardo of Pisa, also known as Fibonacci, introduced to the West during the 13th century. Here's the sequence, numbers, right? It's a pattern of numbers, and the relevance is here. What Fibonacci and scholars before him discovered is that the sequence is prevalent in nature in spiral shapes such as seashells, flowers, even constellations. So they find sequence and patterns in basically what you see in creation, right? What you see out there when you're looking at the trees and the flowers and stuff and the stars. And as spiral grows outward, it does so at roughly the same rate as the percentage derived from the Fibonacci ratios, right? So here's like what it would look like on a chart. It just keeps following the same sequence of numbers. So this is literally where Fibonacci retracement is derived from. And to continue, some believe these ratios extend beyond just shapes in nature and actually predict human behavior. Now we're talking about charts and Bitcoin. The thinking is that people start to become uncomfortable with trends that cause changes to happen too rapidly and adjust their behavior to slow down or to slow or reverse the trend. Does that sound familiar in terms of Bitcoin tanking and then just kind of reversing itself over and over in Fibonacci retracement channels? That's what happens. It's trends, and it's the emotionality of people basically wanting to reverse a trend. Here's a really good example. According to this theory, if someone started out with $100 in his wallet, he would begin to slow his spending or stop altogether once he has spent about $61.80 and has only about $38.20 remaining. So in a real life scenario, this is the Fibonacci retracement. This is somebody's wallet going from $100 to $61.80, literally hitting the 618. I talk about the 618 all the time. This is what it looks like charted. This is a daily chart I have open. And here's a 618. This top line right here is a 618, right? And that's after hitting the 2017 bull market high. This is what the 618 looks like in terms of Fibonacci retracements. And basically, we're taking on this chart the bear market low in 2014 to 2015 to the bull market high 2017, and that's a Fibonacci retracement indicator that we've been watching. I mean, really before we even went into the bear market low of 2018, right? And this was a Fibonacci retracement we used. It's a 618, around 7,600 or so, down to the 786, around 4,300. And that's what I want to talk about. In terms of these numbers, in terms of the flow of Bitcoin and its cycles, and I charted this, right? This is the chart that I actually posted back in December, bear market low. There should be a link in the description of this video explaining this. But I charted this, and the Fibonacci retracement long term has a lot to do with it, right? And I've laid out, I've laid out some Fibonacci retracements here. So here's one going back to literally 2010, right? This swing low all the way back here to just this crazy bull market high, 2011, right? So here's our first Fibonacci retracement. You can see it over here, and you see this green rectangle, 618 to 786. That's the channel we look for. And really, simply put, for me, at least when I'm doing technical analysis long term, this channel to me isn't saying that's it. That is as low as Bitcoin's going to go. That's not what it's saying, for me anyway. What that's saying is when we hit this green rectangle, right, whether it's on the weekly chart, which we see here long term, or the daily chart shorter term, when we hit this rectangle, so we hit this rectangle, I wasn't here then, but we hit the rectangle here, pretty much look for support. There could be a possible bounce. There could be a possible reversal. But mainly, in terms of buying the dip, accumulating cryptocurrency, accumulating Bitcoin, below that channel, that is where it's at. That is your least risk, in my opinion, in accumulating. And the Fibonacci retracement just paints the picture perfectly. This is a weekly chart. It took immense patience and a grueling downtrend in 2011 to get here, but Bitcoin broke that Fibonacci retracement clearly, obviously, and then worked its way out of that, bear market here, right? So that's that first Fibonacci retracement. And it kind of, I guess could be partially defines the Bitcoin cycles, right? But then we do that again, right? So we take that bear market low, right, where it would have been nice to be accumulating in that oversold environment below the 786 to 618 channel. We take it right there, right, to the next bull market high, 2013 bull market high. Same thing. We have a Fibonacci retracement channel once again to use for context in terms of, all right, maybe I should buy this Bitcoin dip, right? You maybe sold here. I don't know what anybody was doing, but Bitcoin's making a downtrend. We're in that green oversold environment, the Fibonacci retracement, the 618 to 786, and then we broke up below it. Bear market bottom, 2014, 2015, again, proving to be an exceptional amazing opportunity to accumulate Bitcoin, right? Again, using Fibonacci retracement, not to predict exactly where the bottom is, but to say, okay, this is the least risk in terms of accumulating Bitcoin right now because it's so oversold. And if Bitcoin is going to reverse, it's most likely going to happen after it's in an environment where it's below this key Fibonacci channel, the 618 to 786. This is a weekly chart, right? So that's the second part of Bitcoin cycles over the last 10 years or so. And then we take our next Fibonacci retracement, the one that we're literally in right now. This is, I guess, what you could say as I'm doing this video, the current opportunity of Bitcoin and kind of what was a huge opportunity back in December, I would say. But you take the bear market low, in that bear market low we just looked at in 2015, to our previous bull market high. Everybody remembers that, hitting $20,000. And then we have our Fibonacci charted again. And then look, we fell into that Fibonacci retracement channel and below it. So once again, we were doing videos saying, listen, Bitcoin can tank, it could go to zero, crypto can fail, but this is it. This is what buying the dip looks like. And this is what it looked like, everybody. That's for the third time in Bitcoin's lifetime, that's Bitcoin below the Fibonacci retracement, oversold like crazy on the weekly, right? Hitting the 200-week moving average, same as it did last Bitcoin bear market bottom, right? Here's that red line. And it proved to be an awesome area of accumulation. So, we have things that we're looking for consistencies over Bitcoin's very short lifetime, right? And this is one of them, this Fibonacci retracement. And what I kind of want to point out is if I go over, actually, let me stay on this weekly chart. I want to point this out. Because we're really focusing on Bitcoin breaking below this Fibonacci retracement, right? But if we take a Fibonacci retracement again, and I chart it from that last cycle that we just looked at, and we zoom in, what I want to point out is Bitcoin did break below. This is the 2014, 15 bear market low, obviously by the dip, right? Below that. But look at Bitcoin as it's exiting the bear market and going into Bitcoin's next halving, grappling with that 618. It's grappling to basically escape this retracement channel. And it was in this channel or below this channel for a while. Like we're talking right here, September 15th, 2014 to right here, May 2016. Like that's a long time, right? And finally it exited the channel and we broke above the channel leading into that last Bitcoin halving. And so again, here's similarities at the upper end of this Fibonacci retracement. Bitcoin, obviously, like we said, Bitcoin fell below the Fibonacci retracement channel by the dip scenario once again in terms of Bitcoin cycles. And then now, again, leading into this next halving, we're grappling kind of with this 618 on this weekly Fibonacci retracement channel. But I think in general, what we can kind of gather from all of this data is Bitcoin really truly is very consistent in terms of what it's doing and in terms of the area, the exact area of where it's doing it. Namely, right now, right around the 618 area. So are we going to see some resistance here like we did last time going into the halving? Are we going to break it sooner, right? Like, are we going to go down a little bit and then break it later? Those questions I don't have the answer to, right? That's called predicting the future. Nobody can do that. However, the one thing I can do is lay out the data that says, wow, Bitcoin really looks extremely similar to every single cycle that it's had so far. And that's really only 2 other cycles. But that's all the data we're working with. But right now, Bitcoin's looking very similar. And then if you kind of look at Bitcoin halving 163 days away, and then you go to a daily chart, right? We kind of, again, get the same sense. Bitcoin's at a very similar area that it's been at this time before each Bitcoin halving last time. 163 days away from Bitcoin halving, consolidating, right? You see Bitcoin consolidating. You see a lot of volatility back here, and I'm going to zoom in so you can see it a little better. You see a lot of volatility back here. This is the daily chart on Bitcoin back in January 2016. And you can imagine people freaking out, right? Not knowing what's ahead. And then same thing. Here's Bitcoin halving in 2012. I mean, now we're really going back 163 days before. Look what Bitcoin was doing, just getting ready to make its move with extreme volatility into the Bitcoin halving in November 2012. So we take all of these things and we see so many similarities. And here we are again, 163 days before this next Bitcoin halving, this white line. And we're talking so many consistencies, so much harmony in Bitcoin right now and what it's doing. Now, there are some things where we don't see as much harmony, right? Like the number one thing that comes to my mind would be the 50-week moving average, this blue line, right? We've obviously in the last 2 or 3 weeks have fallen below it. I'm really hopeful to see if Bitcoin can break back above it. And I know hope isn't the best word to use when you're doing technical analysis, but it's just what I want to see. I want to see Bitcoin have support at the 50-week moving average. Is that bad? Because it's one thing that we saw back in the last Bitcoin cycle where Bitcoin kind of came down after testing Fibonacci retracement once again. We saw support at the 50-week moving average. So, and this is what it looks like, right? So and the timing of all these things. And here's the Fibonacci resistance to the upside. Bitcoin gets there and then just boom, back down. And we see support above the 50-week moving average. And then this time around, this all happening way quicker this time around. Bitcoin gets there and then boom, back down 50-week moving average. And here's the one consistency that maybe is not really there right now, is Bitcoin actually showing support above the 50-week moving average. Let's see how this week ends. But it's a big thing that I'm watching. If we continue downwards, it's like I said, it's not the end of the world for Bitcoin. It's just not, because we have to keep in mind that Bitcoin, this move that it made to this Fibonacci level, happened so much quicker than when it happened over here back in 2016. And it's very evident on the charts. Partly, here's the Bitcoin halving in 2016. That's when it was finally hitting this Fibonacci retracement. And it already hit this Fibonacci retracement like almost a year before the next Bitcoin halving. So Bitcoin's like moving a little quicker now. So it makes sense if Bitcoin maybe is struggling a little bit to stay above the 50-week moving average. It's in its consolidation phase. And when we really dig into the charts and we start looking at the daily chart zoomed in, we get a sense of what that looks like, right? Here's that long-term Fibonacci retracement that I pretty much was talking about that happened in the last 3 cycles. Obviously, on the daily chart, you get a really clear idea testing this 618. We're there right now. This is something we want to see Bitcoin exit out of. Obviously, it did in the last cycles of Bitcoin. I think it will again. We have to wait and see when that happens. Here's the Bitcoin halving on the daily chart right here, this white line. But yeah, in terms of the consolidation, we have Bitcoin working its way into this kind of falling wedge, I guess you can call it, that we've been tracking for Bitcoin. So could that look like Bitcoin, falling into $6,300, right? The lower end of this falling wedge. Absolutely. Another lower low. It could. But what I do know, it is a sign, this could be a very bullish setup for Bitcoin to exit this falling wedge, right? Going into the halving. And that's something we'll just continue to track. Lastly, when we're talking about Fibonacci retracements, we talked about them on the long term. Here's kind of what it looks like on the short term. And here we go. Here's a very key Fibonacci retracement. Let me delete this very big one that we talked about and delete that little rectangle. Here's a very key Fibonacci retracement. It's the swing low at the bottom of the bear market to our previous swing high that we hit around $14,000. Right now testing the 618 of that channel, right? So you see this bottom trend line of this wedge kind of flowing nice and confluent with this entire Fibonacci channel. So just be prepared, right? Part of my approach is accumulating in an environment where we're at a lower trend line, at a key support area, namely this Fibonacci resistance Fibonacci support, and we're oversold, right? So if Bitcoin gets in this environment, I'll probably be buying more Bitcoin. Right now, I'm not really doing much. So that's it. Those are my thoughts on Bitcoin. And I really wanted to share with you why I think, and this is just partly why. I'm trying to not make this too long of a video, but this is partly why I think Bitcoin is 100% following its pattern. It's 100% following its cycles. So let me know what your thoughts are. Hit the like button. I really appreciate it, especially if you agree with what I'm saying. Hit that like button. Hit that like button. And let me know your thoughts. I mean, actually, and press 1 if you're bullish right now. If you think if we're getting ready to go up, and press 2 if you're bearish. I always like doing that. Always curious to see what you're thinking of. And I would really love to know. And I guess the other thing I'm curious of, we talked about the 50-week moving average. If Bitcoin's going to stay above that on the weekly. Here's the daily chart. The other thing I'm really curious of right now is this. We have this long-term symmetrical triangle that in orange, right? We had a similar one in 2013 into 2016. It didn't play out, meaning Bitcoin didn't really hit another higher low before breaking up. It just didn't. It stayed at the upper end of this triangle up here. We never came back down. I'm really curious to see if Bitcoin does come back down, right? Leading into the next couple months. If we come down here and kind of really hit a more solidified higher low in this long-term triangle, or is it going to do something similar? And is it going to actually exit before? Really curious to see. There's no guarantees what's going to happen. I mean, it looks 50-50 in terms of the ones and twos in the chats. Bears and bulls. I mean, there's literally nothing new. It's almost always 50-50 in terms of Bitcoin and the sentiment of Bitcoin. And, we just have to just wait and see what happens. But yeah, the suspense is killing me. And at the same time, I can't post every day. I can't do videos every day. I don't want to rehash the same thing over and over. I know that gets very annoying to watch videos that say the same thing over and over just because the person wants to create content. And right now, Bitcoin has been so boring that I kind of refuse to do that. I want to focus on other things, like mainly recruiting and, building my business and things like that. So one thing is true. That's the sound of a rocket. I'm waiting for it, just like you are. Trust me, I'm here with you. I hope we get it soon. It will be fun. It's just more fun. It's more enjoyable. I tweeted last week and I said something like, there's just more interest in Bitcoin when price is up. Like it or not, that's just the way it is. And what's funny is I've noticed even the thought leaders in terms of Bitcoin, even the people that have massive Twitter followings and tweet all the time, they just seem more creative. Their tweets are better. Everybody's operating better when price is up, right? The entire space just is better. It's more creative when Bitcoin price is up. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just an observation that I'm making in terms of social media. It's just the way it is. And I think that's just because everybody's more motivated to create content when price is up. Because let's face it, and I'm consistently honest about this, it's why most of us entered the space, to make some money, to see some gains. I love the technology. I think it's awesome. It's going to change the world, and I'm following it. I'm watching it. I've run a crypto recruiting firm, helping crypto startups, right? So I'm interested in it, obviously, but there's definitely no lie. I'm here to make money. I started buying Bitcoin and Litecoin because I think there's a powerful investment there. So I'm going to continue tracking price and continue seeing what happens. But I really appreciate you. If you're here right now and you're not a subscriber, you know the drill. Hit the subscribe button. I thank you for it. I applaud you for it. Also hit the like button on the way out if you enjoyed this video. We'll maybe do another video soon if price does something other than nothing. But I really appreciate all you coming out, hanging out on this Tuesday afternoon. I hope you're having a great day. I will see you in the next video, and God bless.